Welcome to Film Riot. Today we're answering questions, but before we get to that, a few people were asking me on Twitter. I saw where I've been and if I'm okay, and I am. I've just been taking a bit of a break from social media. I do it about once a year, but this time was a little longer than usual. I think it's been like a month and a half that I took my social media brain break. It's just the internet can be a dark place, as you know, so I think it's healthy and important to kind of take a step back every now and again. But I am going to be back. I do love interacting with you guys, so I'm excited to get back to that. But also, we wanted to announce the winner of the JibONE from last episode, the Edelkrone JibONE, and that is going to be Joey Alford. So congratulations.
Good job, Joey.
Good job, Joey. Good job commenting and following. But you're going to love this thing, so congrats.
You did such a good job.
And enjoy it, commenting and following.
He did so good at it.
He did really good.
Honestly, I would say he did the best.
I bet you he has an expensive keyboard. So social media break over. Maybe we'll see. Probably it's over. Yeah, it's over. Mostly. It'll probably be like a little. Anyway, Joey Alford, good job. Congratulations, JibONE coming your way. And that's it. First question. Okay, so lighting for dark scenes and avoiding noise in those dark areas of the frame. Well, first of all, if you are uploading to YouTube and you're having very dark scenes, you're gonna have trouble with compression. I have had that trouble on every film. It does help a lot to upload in 4K. Even if you shoot 1080, upscale that to 4K in the end, and that will look 1,000 times better on YouTube. But still, if people aren't watching in 4K or even sometimes still in 4K, those dark areas can get a bit ugly with compression. So YouTube still struggles a lot with that. Vimeo is 1,000 times better when it comes to compression, especially in dark areas. But overall, when shooting, something I thought Chase did really, really well, I thought it was a really clever idea, was he shot everything a lot brighter than it was going to be later on. So we tweaked things for the monitor so we could see what it was going to look like, but he was actually shooting our actual image, the untouched image, was pretty bright compared to what it was ultimately going to be. That way we could take that into post and then bring that down in post, and that way we're not getting that noise floor in those dark areas. That way we were also able to tweak things how we want to, do power windows to bring certain areas out or send them more into shadows. It just gave a lot more flexibility and a much cleaner image. So I thought that was really clever. And of course, always make sure you're shooting on the native ISO for your camera as well, and that's gonna help out a lot. Do you ever overthink things? I do it all the time when I'm thinking of ideas/writing. Any tips? I definitely overthink things. I still overthink things, and only recently, I would say over the last year and a half, have I been able to sort of pull the reins back on that and not do that. What I'm about to say is probably gonna be a no-duh to a lot of people, and should have been a no-duh to me. It's something that, you know, vomit drafts. You hear, do a vomit draft. But I just couldn't get myself to do that, be it an outline or actual script form. My first draft would be like most people's third draft because I wouldn't move on from A to B until A was really solid. I would keep refining it before moving on to B because I was overthinking those moments. And because of that, it made it really impossible to do something like a feature. So features to me felt like this insurmountable task to write because of how I was doing, how much I overthought everything. But once I really had to start fleshing out There Comes a Knocking because of some deadlines that were imposed on me, I created a scriptment, and that scriptment ended up being this 52-page document, which at points when I was feeling inspired would be a scripted out scene, and at other points would be something just like, you know, Meg talks to her mom about this is the point of the scene. That's it. Because if I were to overthink that scene that I wasn't inspired to write yet, I wouldn't move on. So instead of overthinking that moment, I gave myself the license to just put a pin in that and continue. Sometimes moving several scenes down to a place I knew I wanted to go and write that in. And by doing that, you kind of, here's where I want to go, and then you could track back and figure out the things that will get you there best for character and for the scene. So you really just need to give yourself the license to be bad. You know, we're all terrible until we rewrite ourselves. So just put things down, get those ideas down, and then once they're down, they're not locked in stone. You can delete those, you can replace those. So get them all down, put all the puzzle pieces down so you can see the overall picture, and then slowly start to refine on top of that. That's how I've been able to get around overthinking anything. Out of all the ideas you have at the same time, how do you choose which ones to tackle for your next projects? That has always been hard, but guided by what I needed at the time, specifically for me. And it's gonna be specific to everyone. Right now, for instance, I'm trying to get my foot in the door with features. in a Hollywood system, which definitely dictates what ideas of mine I should move to the front burner and which ones I should leave on the back burner. Obviously, budget considerations is a huge one, and that's whether I want to sell to Hollywood or whether I want to make it myself. It actually goes hand in hand. It's the same answer for either one. So because I want to go with features, I'm a first-time director, whether I'm doing by myself or selling it to Hollywood. Horror is an easier pathway in and something that can be done for 10 million or less, 5 million or less, something I can pull off for 2 million. Those are the things I'm pulling to the front burner, the ones with, you know, high concepts that you could say in one sentence and people get it. So those are the projects that I'm bringing forward to start developing, because those are the ones that I know can lead to that first feature with the most, you know, probability of something being done. And again, that's whether it's pitching to Hollywood or doing it myself, because even if I do it myself, there still has to be distribution. So at some point, you're still selling that thing. Of course, that's for me, and it's specific to me. It's going to change for each person, but that's how I whittle mine down to the ones I'm developing right now. And then, you know, when it came to short films before, like I said on the show before, a lot had to do with my 5-year plan. Where am I at now, and where do I want to be? So a lot of the times the short films were about things that would excite me, but were very much revolving around, you know, notches in the belt I wanted to hit, certain types of action, certain types of stunts, certain types of visual effects, certain types of pacing, going in the middle of nowhere without a script, and what could happen there? Okay, I have this field in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to write a script. What could be happening here? I only have one actor. And letting it build from that. And when it comes to ideas for short films, sometimes they're ripped from features. But I think the thing that should dictate that most for most people is, what resources do you have right now? What can you pull off really well right now? And which one of your ideas can fall into that pocket? And I think those things really do help whittle all those down to figure out which one you should move to the front of the pack. Ideas on how to handle crew or cast who have their own artistic opinions and won't do it how you've asked them to as a director. That can be really tough, but I've lucked out so far, at least with my personal films, and I haven't really dealt much with that at all. I've worked with some really wonderful people, and a lot of that comes into the casting process. When you're casting your actors, when you're casting your crew, you just, you know, have those conversations and make sure you guys gel and you trust each other, and trust might actually be the issue. So that's something you want to think about. Does your cast and crew really trust you? And if they don't, why is that? And what can you do to earn their trust? A good example of that is when I worked with a stunt team this one time, years and years. It was the first time I worked with a stunt team. They knew that. They had worked with people who hadn't worked with stunt teams before, and the way that it came out, they weren't super thrilled with. So at times I could tell they didn't fully trust me. They were a little concerned, rightfully so. They weren't being a-holes. You know, this is their career. They have to protect how they look, you know, their craft. So what I did was that night I took some of the footage that we shot and I cut that together so I could bring and show them, you know, the vision of what I was trying to do. And after that, they trusted me completely, and it was smooth sailing. So, you know, that's something you want to think about. Does your cast and crew trust you completely? If they don't, why is that? And what can you do to earn their trust? Another thing is, you know, this is a choir. It's not just your voice. You're bringing a ton of voices together to create this one song. So you need to hear these different voices. That's why you brought them on. So if you're saying no, no, no over and over and over again, you're going to get opposition back. You don't want to be opposition. You want to be a collaborator. So it's about making sure it feels like everyone's film, but keeping that unified vision. And if you know exactly what you want and people understand that you know exactly what you want, they'll trust in that, they'll rest in that. And then when you say, that's a good idea, but it doesn't work for X, Y, and Z, you have a very good reason why, that helps as well. All this stuff gets a lot easier with experience, but at some point it just does come down to managing personalities. But if they are just an a-hole, that happens. And I have dealt with that once or twice, never on any of my films, thankfully. And in those cases, you got to get through the day. You got to get the thing shot. If it's an actor especially, that's a really difficult position to be in. You can't just fire them, get rid of them. You have to deal with them. So it very much becomes just managing that personality and figuring out a way to get the thing done while making it, a lot of the times, it's figuring out a way to make them think that the thing that they're doing that you want them to do was their idea. And that is definitely a skill that you need as a director. I never do that with good collaborators. I've only ever done that with people who were being very difficult and I just needed to make my day. So that's a skill that you need to figure out and refine. Again, something that does come with experience.
Logo.
So that's it for today, and I do have a suggestion of the week today, and I'm sort of late to the game on this one, but it's The Movies That Made Us on Netflix. I absolutely love this series. I'm really bummed that there's only a handful of episodes, but the whole thing's wrapped in just tons of nostalgia. Even the way that they present the show feels very old school Discovery Channel, like movie magic type stuff, which if you watch the show, you know how much I loved movie magic. So the thing as a whole, just looking back at those old fantastic films and diving into how they were made to just how it's all presented. I love all of it. So if you have Netflix, definitely check that out. But that's it. Until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.